Hello, everyone.
Yes, hi.
Right now.
Yes, and welcome to another episode of Committed and Covered.
All things marriage and family topics.
Yes. And you know what? We need you guys to bring people on, right? We need you to heart it, like it, share it. Wherever whatever platform you might be on, YouTube, Facebook,
What does Pastor Snell
Insta.
say? Be an Apple apostle.
Yeah. We need you
And
guys.
share it.
Yeah, thanks, Kimberly. She's hanging in there with us, but
What's going on?
Yes.
we need everyone. We've got a handful on now with us, but share,
Pass it along. So yes.
Yes.
So hey guys, I'm Nicole. This is Malcolm,
Hey.
and we have our hosts Chantel and Troya. So it's us again, the four of us. And so again today, guys. So last month we talked about sex versus intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was part one. But we received some emails, some texts that said, "Hey guys, let's take this." You all should take this a little deeper. Yeah. Think about things like when sex and intimacy can't happen with couples who are sick. Or what does that look like with your aging couples? And not even just aging couples, but also situations that may come up where all you have to fall back on is intimacy and not sex. Yeah. And then our last episode, we really didn't get to touch on what does intimacy specifically looks like for women and for men. I know in the chat, some of you are posting, taking walks and things like that. But we want to extend and expound on that and get more in depth about that, because unfortunately, some people really honestly don't know what intimacy looks like. So we want to talk about that to make sure that our viewers and even, amongst ourselves, as we've been married for a while, to truly understand intimacy versus sex. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, just taking it deeper with what intimacy
and we want you guys
like.
to liven up. Marissa, thank you for saying hey to us. Corey, thank you for saying hey. Kimberly, thank you for moderating today. And hey, guys, we wanted to be a dialogue as well as we hit these hot points. Like
That's right.
Nicole said, let's converse.
So ask questions.
The wises are a little quiet today. Well, Troya is struggling. I mean, the brothers got to stick together. Troya, he's struggling today. Right? We've had a long day, right?
It's all good. We here, man.
We're supposed to have a
do
Sabbath
this.
rest.
Yes.
And is that Lorna Spencer?
Yes.
She's already kicking in.
Yeah, she says intimacy is fulfilling the emotional need of your partner.
Okay.
And so, guys,
All right.
we just want to give a quick recap when we talked about our last episode, defining what intimacy is. And that's beyond the physical, okay? It's more emotional, like Lorna said, intellectual and spiritual. And so we're going to talk about that. And also I want to share with you from the previous episode, we sent out a survey to people, to other couples,
Yes.
couples that, couples that have been married not that long, couples that have been married for a while, and then, even seasoned couples. So with ages starting from 20 to 64 plus. And we were able to receive 61 responses, which I appreciate. So if you are watching and you responded, thank you, because it gave us more of an insight, a deeper insight of what we're going to talk about this evening. And so we'll get started. Someone again said, what does intimacy really looks like? So from our survey, when we talk about how marriage can change over time, because, we've all been married, and if you've been married during the earlier years, so we're going to start out talking about those earlier years of marriage, how intimacy and sex, how was it for you guys, at the beginning of your marriage?
Is this the recap?
Yeah, I've already given the recap.
Okay.
Do you want to say how it was in the early years?
Yeah. Well, not too good.
But like we talking about sex and intimacy.
Sex and intimacy.
Well, I mean,
hey, we're gonna keep it 100.
I was getting it. It was good for me.
Yes.
But we had to understand some
Not so
things
much for
like,
me.
and so we, I was into a lot of different things prior to the marriage, and I had to really kind of understand what it meant to be in a sanctified relationship, and some of the expectations, and when you got history and things like that, some of the expectations that you think that you're gonna get, like, oh man, I'm gonna get it several times a day, and it's just like it's gonna be a lot of sex, and then no expectation. That's not what I'm thinking, but that's kind of how I played things out, and so that impacted, the intimacy, and I couldn't understand that at the time, but I'll let her explain.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that pretty much sums it up. We had to get on one accord and just understand that I was a lady and not necessarily an animal.
Okay.
Let me drink some water.
Or a toy.
Or a toy. If that sounds
like
better.
that better.
But, just understanding the gentleness that's required, the intentionality that's required. It's more than just being in the bed and having sex, warm your wife up, or warm your husband up, whatever you need to do. But so Troy, he pretty much summed it up. So we were not necessarily on one accord. His needs were being met.
Yeah, mine were being met.
Because I'm not going to deprive my husband.
Yes, nice.
That's right. Hallelujah.
However, we had to work through some things, and now, just saying, we worked through it.
Praise the Lord for the win.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, because in the survey from the people who responded, they were just saying in the earlier years, of course, when you're first married, you have sex pretty regularly, the intimacy, the passion, spending time together. So that's why I wanted to ask, like, how was it earlier on, in those earlier years,
Okay. All right, you looking at me. I'm just listening, I'm with them. I'm with y'all. I mean, how was it? I mean,
yeah. But typically, though, in the earlier years, again, like I said, the people that responded from the survey, and I even remember, before kids, you have more passion, you have sex more often, and of course, the ebb and flow of getting used to each other. So those are some things that was discussed in the earlier on
and here's something,
stages.
Someone said sex, kissing, talking to each other a lot.
Right.
Like those long, I remember Troy and I, we used to talk to each other every morning
All
on the way
night
to
long.
work.
Yeah, we did.
All night long,
Yeah.
Especially if we were away from each other, it's like go to sleep on the phone with each
that's so
other,
sweet.
Cause
You be on the phone, and ain't nobody saying nothing,
That's
but
right.
y'all just,
hearing each other breathe.
That's right. You do. You go to sleep on
For
the phone.
hours. hours.
Talk for hours, and you have those deep conversations about, getting to know each other. So, and hey, guys, if you are in the early stages of your marriage, post in the chat. How were you at the beginning of your marriage, the earlier stages of your marriage, as far as your intimacy and sex? And so Lorna says, couples must be intentional about intimacy because it is my opinion that it keeps the relationship strong. Being physical is easy, but intimacy is the marathon of the relationship.
That's right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Like
Thank you so much for that.
It.
But like even if there's somebody who's listening to us and you're not married, you're dating,
Yes.
or you might be in the single phase, no matter what age you are, there's still a need for intimacy. Not necessarily, we want to keep it biblically, sound, we have to omit sex, but we still have a need for intimacy. And I think that's something that we don't cross either in terms of discuss. Like, is there intimacy for the single person who's dating, or intimacy for the single person just period?
So somebody mentioned emotional needs, and I think that is so important. I think it's so important because that, to me, that is a form of intimacy when your emotional needs are being met.
Yes,
Right.
true.
So that may be something for the singles. It's not necessarily a physical, transaction, but it's you're in tune with my emotions.
Yeah.
You're feeling with me, and my emotional needs are being met. So I think that's important.
Yeah, I think intimacy is not all physical as well. And so the more we better understand the true definition of what intimacy is, we will see that, if you're not married, if you're dating, that you truly can experience a deep level of intimacy without involving something that, we wouldn't be wanting to do prior to marriage.
Right. So we're saying that emotional connection, that emotional
Absolutely.
piece.
Yeah. Well, Mrs. It, that's a cute name.
What is it?
Mrs. It.
Yes. Says
Did y'all call y'all
In all
out?
caps.
love, wise, transparency in marriage, and what about the Taylor sister question? I thought we got past that one.
I thought I did too.
Mrs.
Why you
Ed-
studying, baby? All.
Well, Mrs. Ed, I thought we answered it, but definitely at the beginning for us, we were very busy. We were very active, especially with no kids, But I think over time, we really fully understood more so about the intimacy piece versus sex. So would you say that, babe?
You know what? Like Choi and I, we both agreed even on part one. Like, we just got it twisted, So, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with you. It was a work in progress, especially for we men. If there's nothing that's encumbering you to perform, if you perform, performance is performance.
That's it. However you want to define it.
Yeah, however you want to define it. It's a good night or a good day, a good morning, afternoon, or whatever. But we have to learn how to listen to our partners.
Yeah,
Right.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Everybody is different, and it's amazing the diversity of needs when it comes to sex and intimacy. There's no solid playbook to really just go by. You have to really pay attention to what your spouse is telling
It's not.
you.
Yes.
Because most guys, it's like, I got mine. Did you get yours?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Man,
And I'll tell you, for a woman, if you're not emotionally connected, am I loud enough?
Yeah.
The tech
Hopefully.
said.
Sorry. If you're not emotionally connected, like, I know for me, I'm just there,
Right,
just trying to, I am letting you get whatever you need, but I'm not even, in my mind, I'm not even connected enough to even want to take it to that level for myself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think you was.
Yeah, I'm done.
I think that this is an education type of thing, and I really don't know how most of us men are really supposed to know that, especially when you're not, well, for me, my father never he would be like, go get it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, damn, I'm trying to hold back, basically not telling him, I don't want the same situation that we got here.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's like, no, go get it. And I'm like, man, I'm trying to just hold back. But like, for real, like, you know, this is a problem. So I'm not trying to create and repeat the same situation. But the thing is that he never taught me or told me about intimacy and okay, so how you handle a woman, what some of their needs when you get married, what the expectations are and things like that. So I don't know even how common it is to have these conversations for men, young men even, you know, because that's who the conversations would be, to where men, mature men, married men are training and grooming their sons to understand the essence of intimacy.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to wait till marriage to try to learn all that.
And I think we missed that point with our sons. Well, I know you have daughters.
Yeah.
But I do have 2 sons. And as actually one of our sons is our producer today, and it would be nice to turn the camera toward him and ask him, did I give him a good tutorial on intimacy? You know, I think we really don't broach that subject.
No,
you know, because it's almost like birds and bees. You know,
we talk about sex, but not intimacy.
No, we don't. Yeah, intimacy is definitely left out.
Yeah. So basically, though, what we're saying is early on in the marriage, passion is there, the excitement, you know, but some of the ways I want to talk about what some of the survey respondents said, things that stood out for them earlier on in their marriages. And some of them were quality times. These are some non-physical ways to have intimacy. And some of them was quality time. Long talks.
Well, of course, that goes along with the quality time as well. Meaningful conversations.
Yes.
Like somebody actually said laughing and playing and excited about the same topics. You know?
Right.
That can get hard.
Yeah.
Excited about the same topics. But, you know, Marsha, she did say a lot of black men especially are not taught, you know. So, and that goes along with what you guys are reading, you know, in terms of what people have asked for. We would call it the needs assessment.
Yes, right. Yeah. And some of the comments that they put in the survey, vulnerability, shared goals, you know, and some of those things at the beginning, just doing things together like activities, talking, those long conversations. So those are some intimate things that was discussed in the survey for the earlier stages of marriage. But
when we keep it real, you know, it just seems like it takes so much energy. It really does. I mean, just like just this today, like, Joy, you're tired. Like, that takes a lot of energy to be like, I'm gonna suck it up, and I'm gonna sit here with my boo and do this thing, you know. And so it's kind of like we do some things that are seen and unseen, but it takes a lot of.
But if you think about it, in the earlier stages of marriage, it was easy. To me, it seemed easy.
Well, for men, horny makes it easy.
Well,
it's an energy that you have.
But the you know, earlier part of our marriage, you know, we were, it was just this excitement, and you know, you wanted to be around each other 24/7, do different things. Oh, you know, just have a good time, laughing, like some of the respondents from the survey. And so, but it was easy. But then, you know, since you said that, we move into the middle stages of our marriage where we start having children. You're getting more, you're getting more into your careers. Like I said, school, if you're going to school, and depending on how many children you have, that's when life, you know, from the survey, couples started saying it started slowing down, and where you had to be more intentional of how you are with your spouse and the things that you do. And
what about the child of a coming king and Kurt Nugent?
Says a blessed Sabbath to everyone. Does not everyone have the capacity of non-sexual? Does everyone have the capability of non-sexual intimacy?
Wow. Yeah.
Everyone has the capability.
I feel that everyone does have, because
sometimes we have to be taught.
Right.
Yeah.
But
that's what I was going to say. Sometimes it's a more of a learned behavior, and you have to establish a certain level of patience and desire to learn.
Right.
You know,
and then which we're going to talk about further down, though, when you have no other choice with your spouse, when that's not that you have no choice where you have to be non-sexual because of a sickness or illness, which is what we'll talk about.
Things happen.
I have a question because, and this just out of curiosity, I want to ask the guys, Malcolm and Troya, because it seems like when we're talking about intimacy, a lot of it is the men weren't taught or the men don't know. They learned this from their wives. Usually, if you listen to your wife, your wife can teach you. So, is this something that a mother should teach their son? And is intimacy just as important for you all as it is for the woman? Because I hear the common thread is that, hey, we're horny, we just want to have sex. Once we get that, we're good. So is it just as important for you all as it is for women?
Probably not. No.
So that's two questions. Two questions.
No,
there.
we need intimacy too. It's just we probably don't need it as much as you all, and it's different. I think it's different. I think we all need it, but it's just different. Intimacy is very different. You talked about maybe having this talk to with maybe a mother talking to a son about that. I think that can happen. I hear some guys that have really close relationships with their mothers and it's just really tight. For me, I would not have wanted to hear that from my mother.
Yeah, okay.
I would not.
Smokey Robinson said, "My mama told me."
Yeah,
you better shop around.
Yeah, man, that would not have been the conversation to have with mom.
Yeah,
but I love mom, but that just wouldn't have worked out at all.
Okay, and I'll answer that question too, and I'll read what Kurt said about cultures. In some cultures in Africa where we serve, they have some traditions where they teach young men and young women who are coming of age how to be successful with sexual intimacy. So that's his answer to it. And for me, I think I'll come from a biological standpoint.
Okay.
Like testosterone is a beast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the dominant hormone in men. Although men and women possess testosterone and estrogen.
It's almost like it's some demons in there or something.
Testosterone does something. And we were looking at a medical documentary, and the lady was going through hormone therapy because she wanted to change her identity sexually, and she started taking testosterone.
Okay.
And she said, I didn't know what men were going through until they raised my testosterone levels. And I'm not trying to, give a pass to it, but it that hormone really gives a drive to us that changes our way of thinking just on its own, right? Yeah. With no education, no nothing. You just on its own.
Yes.
It causes us to want to do something. So the long form answer to your question, Chantel, it's tough. Yeah. It's tough because even if you hear good education on how to be intimate, your own biological instinct kind of overrides some of it.
Yeah. You mentioned something too about the strength of the testosterone.
Yes.
So you could be a very complicated, intellectually whatever male, but when that testosterone ramps up on you, you become like a little boy, a child.
Yes,
it's just like, hey, this is what I need. This is what I want. I don't know how. You can't even think.
You can't.
You can't, especially when you're younger. I mean, you lose your mind.
Yeah. And we've lost ours plenty of times as young men.
Yes.
But I also like what Kurt said. I think both parents should be involved involved because a mother can't teach certain things. And I do believe that too.
I agree.
But I know with our son, our youngest, I remember he came home and he was like, he said we had to sign a form because they were talking about sex. And it was going to have a sex class the next day. And so that next day when I picked him up from school and Focus on the Family was on and it was talking about sex. And so I said to my son, I said, hey, how did that conversation go today at school? And he was like, oh my goodness, he was middle school. So I said, did they talk about A, B, C, and D? And he was like, yes, Mom. And I said, what about what they're saying on Fox FM? So I went through it with him again because I wanted to make sure what were they teaching him and if it was correct. So that is important. I do believe that we have to teach our children the difference between, I know we talk about sex, we may teach them about that, but we don't really talk about intimacy, you know, that specific part. And I do believe that is a conversation that needs to be had. But in talking about the middle years of a marriage, again, we talked about careers, that how when you have your careers and your kids are in activities and the life demands, how that intimacy is lost because of demands of life. And so what are some things we can do as married couples when this happens? And from the survey, most of the couples said that being consistent with carving out time.
Exactly.
Being intentional about how are we going to plan. Some people said put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before. Just keeping that connection, because some of them also said that that connection of intimacy was gone during this phase of marriage, or it was lost and they had to figure out a way to reconnect.
Yeah.
And some of those things, do you have it, Chantel? Some of those things that they said they did to keep it going?
Can I jump in? Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
I'd like to say
we've got almost 200 devices on with us, and you explained it clearly what we were going to do and the information you were drawing from, but it was only not a lot. So this study is from questions that people answered, a survey that you.
Yes,
Great.
sex versus intimacy.
All right, so this is their
That's their
response.
Right.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So to kind of let people know where we are with things. Go ahead.
Well, this one of my favorite ones, because y'all know I'm all about some washing the dishes, sharing household responsibilities. I don't know
Right.
whoever filled that out in the survey. I love you. Thank you.
So you being funny?
Right.
You being
That's
funny
right.
about washing the
That's
dishes?
right. Yeah.
Feels
You
like
like
home
washing
right
dishes, Miss Wise?
no. I like for my husband to help me wash the dishes.
Like,
right.
like as you wash, he's behind you, helping you.
However,
serve it up?
whatever he need to do, whatever he need to do to get it done.
Y'all got to put the kids to sleep on that dishwashing episode. Yeah.
But someone says sharing household responsibilities, balancing the load, understanding life happens, but still making time for each other. So I like
And these
that.
are, Chantel is reading the specific comments that were given in this survey during the middle years of marriage, when life is demanding and, you know, you may fall short on the intimacy and even sex. So she's just giving some of the responses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kimberly, and will answer the question, your question.
Another one was going out to dinner, and I'll be honest. So Troy and I are in that stage of our marriage. You know, we're not in the early years anymore, and we have intentionally carved out a date night. We didn't do this in our early years, and it's crazy because we didn't even have kids. We just
Dang. Yeah. And it's not like we was going on a lot of dates. We'd do stuff all the time. But
but just the intentionality, like it's like really. We're really focused on it now.
Right.
But and I'll tell you, things have changed a lot with us in our level of intimacy and just our connection, because it's not even a long date because we're older and we get tired
sometimes
early.
we sleep.
But
We're just like, hey, we did it.
Yeah.
Right.
20 minutes out.
Yeah, I mean, I just, in all transparency, one day we were so tired, we just drove up the street to the Kroger parking lot, and I think we ate some popcorn and took a nap.
Don't tell me
But
that.
That's a good one.
So late.
that's
I mean,
good.
that's being intentional,
Being
which is what
intentional.
we're talking about. You
Yeah.
know, being intentional. And I just want to read a couple of some comments where people married in the middle ages of marriage said that it waxes cold, it goes to the back burner, it decreases. It also said it most times dissipates if you don't work at it.
Yeah.
It sometimes lasts on the list. So these are some comments from the survey that
Is
couples
that intimacy?
Yes,
Okay.
intimacy. Yeah, these are some things.
One thing I wanted to mention too is that I think that sometimes I think that the fellas, we can get a little bit sluggish on trying to meet our spouse or relationship partners when it comes to the intimacy. And I try to tell people all the time, man, like, you don't understand the importance of this investment.
Yes.
Like, whatever you feel that you're lacking, if you would just listen and try this for a little bit, all your needs can be met. I'm telling you, if you're one of those guys that just every time your wife is talking about something about intimacy, you kind of just, freeze up and just kind of don't want to talk about it, don't want to entertain it. Like, whatever it is that you're wanting from your wife, if you would try that out, I'm telling you, I'm speaking from a lot of experience. I'm just trying to tell you, you know what I'm saying? It's high percentage chance And if it doesn't work, come see us.
Yeah. Come talk to
We'll
us.
help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the survey, as Chantel was reading some, and they did say regular date nights, doing fun activities together, trying new things, communication, affection, being supported during this time, this transition for both couples.
Yeah.
You know, squeezing in time. They said, regardless of the responsibility.
You know, someone said, so in this stage, they find themselves with less physical and more, we're back to that emotional needs. So less physical and more about the emotional needs being met.
Right. And
Here's a
being
question for you
intentional.
ladies. Somebody said, help them, Joy.
Kurt.
Are emotional needs from day one important for women? Like, it seems like you guys bring more of the emotion to the relationship, right? Not baby or pouting, but in a basic relationship that's generally healthy. Are emotions high just from the beginning? Like,
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we're emotional creatures, so
anyway,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and I would say so too, because as a woman, when I think about my emotional needs, I'm thinking about, and I can say definitely with you, because you're my husband of 27 years.
Wow.
If I come to you and I'm talking to you about something, and if I say I want your undivided attention, and if I feel like it's not given, then to me, you're not supporting like that emotional need of what I'm needing at this time, or whatever the conversation is, or me wanting you to understand a point of view. That's an emotional need that I need from you. Just to give some examples.
But I think we missed the point. Yeah, and Mrs.
break it down.
Mrs. It had asked the question. No, you're making the point. I'm saying we as men, we missed the point. I'm glad you made that clear. But like when we first got married, Nicole didn't grow up with men in the house. And I think I shared this story with you guys. Like hair in the shower was like a deal breaker for her. But like
It wasn't a deal breaker, but it was an irritant.
But it brought emotion out of Nicole
Yes,
to the
it
point
did.
where, I mean, she didn't cry like a baby, but it was more like shaky voice, upset, tearful. Like, I don't know if I could do this, hair in the shower, on the sink, like what?
I got to clean it before I get in and clean it when I get out.
But it's kind of like if she
Marriage
grew up
life
in a
is
household
tough.
of men, like
hair.
it would be more like, I got you. Like for you ladies, when you guys see women's hair, like long hair, it's like you understand, but for her, it's like she didn't have a male figure there in the home.
Yeah.
So, but for me, and I'll shorten the story. But for me, I just felt like that was just high emotion.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Shadow Lita said
Yeah.
that drove her batty too. Thank you.
No, what I'm saying, I hope
No,
you guys
no,
get my
that's-
point.
yeah.
For me, at 26, I just like
We don't
man,
know nothing about
that's
that.
just high emotion.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get the cue to say, you know what? Why that's a moment to sit
No,
down and we
this
talk
And
is
about
that's
it.
important. We don't even have a clue that
That's
this
what
is
I'm
really
saying.
important. This is just like this is ridiculous. We
Exactly.
don't know.
And
But
for me,
see-
my answer to it was, when you get in, just run the water first and rinse that thing out. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. Okay, so you mentioned high emotions. It came
I was
across.
wrong. I'm telling you, I was
but
wrong, though.
for me, it wasn't specifically about the hair. It was more so about, okay, I gotta clean it before I get in it and clean it when I get out. That's what I was wanting you to see
Exactly.
and hear and understand.
Yeah, and
so
that-
that was that.
And that was
that's
problematic
where
for you.
Yes, yes.
And so at this age, you
Just the
understand.
thought. Just
at
the
this,
thought of that.
At a more mature age, I won't even put a chronological number to it.
Yeah.
But at a mature age, you're like, okay, I can understand what you're saying. Let's talk it through.
Right,
But
right.
but from an immature standpoint, my remedy is what I would do. Just run the shower water for a little bit. You know,
we
that's
think that's a good solution.
that's the solution for us.
Yeah.
Well,
so we
and-
don't talk it out.
So and in all fairness to you guys, that's why I feel like compromise has to come into play. Because I have to admit, like my emotional needs when I have them, I'm not like I'm also I have emotional needs, but I'm also like a little bit flexible.
Are you emotional?
Well, I think
Ask Choya.
Don't get you putting Troy on the spot. You're gonna get him in trouble.
Well, I tell
You gotta say it right, man.
But you need to word that
Okay,
right.
I got you.
You need to word that
But I'm not
right.
saying none of it in a bad way.
Oh my
Wait,
goodness.
go ahead, Troy. Mrs. It wants to know.
I think that my wife is she has her emotional needs, and she's emotional. I feel that she fits the profile of what you would see in most women, which I learned to appreciate.
Right.
Over time.
Good
But I ain't
answer.
gonna lie.
Good answer.
Initially, I did not appreciate it, did not understand it, and I thought she was crazy. And I was really the crazy one. I just didn't know that.
That's true. And
You
Mrs. D, you're right. Can a man clean up behind himself? We should.
Yeah. So but I think each. Okay, so I
we
think
should- we
that
should
when
definitely
it comes
do
to
that.
emotions, it depends on what it is, because you have your strong emotions about certain things.
Yes.
I do, Chantel, Troy.
That's
Each
right.
couple.
No, you're
so
right. Correct.
we all have this emotional vein in us, and depending on what it is, it peeks its head out. So it depends on what it is. So and Lorna said there's
She's
a
correct.
big difference between hearing and listening.
That's right.
Yes.
So yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
All I heard was a complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and
Yeah.
that's the thing. So when initially, for me, before I learned, it just sounded like a complaint, like you just nagging and things like that. I didn't understand that it didn't have to make sense to me,
Yes.
and I didn't understand
Bingo.
how many consequences were involved. Whether it's conscious or
Yes.
unconscious from not meeting that emotional need, because I didn't act as though I really cared about it, because it's like, this is just stupid.
Yeah. It didn't have to
It's
make
just
sense.
stupid.
That's
I didn't
right.
have empathy, and sometimes I think that us as men, we haven't. Again, when we're talking about the makeup of the body and
Yes.
things
Right,
like that,
right.
it's not necessarily all of our go-to to just be empathetic. A lot of us,
but
some of us.
but because we are talking about the difference between intimacy and sex, that from the survey, that was a big one for women, that emotional connection, emotional understanding. So that was a big one.
Yeah.
And so again, just to reiterate, when we're talking about the middle years, making sure that we have those small connection activity, being
Well,
consistent.
I'm smiling
with
because I think that's
Some funny
Justin.
comments,
I think
man.
that's Justin Rogers, the single man. I'm glad he's here because it's time, Justin.
He said, "This is free
It's
game."
time.
This is free
Yes,
game.
sir.
That's
What's
right.
up, dog?
right.
All right, Yesha, yeah, we listen and don't judge. Hopefully I said it
Person
right.
take
Miss
the
Williams.
notes, guys.
Yes,
We
yes.
listen and we don't judge.
That's
Yeah.
right. But just for those middle years, guys, having that small, consistent acts of intimacy that keeps the connection alive, and we mentioned some of those. So now let's go to the empty nester years. That's like our 60 age group and up, maybe late
It all
50,
depends on when you
mid
start
50.
having
That's true,
kids.
because
Yeah,
we are
that's
empty
true,
nesters.
man.
So,
Yeah.
but for our empty nesters and our aging groups, because one of our listeners that emailed us said that talk about those latter years when your spouse may be sick and you have no other sex is not an option, that intimacy has to come into play, and so, and from the survey, some of the couples, those couples that were 60 plus and even 50 plus, were saying things like having that strong foundation and friendship during the early and the middle years will help you in those latter years, to where when you're not able to have sex, that intimacy really kicks in. And then prayer, they said prayer was very important, and just the quality time that you spend together, those deep conversations, and that strong companionship. Because guys, that we,
That's important.
although we're in the middle years, although we are almost empty nesters, we don't.
just can't
We
get 'em
didn't
to
think.
leave.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
When a loved one is sick and you sex isn't an option anymore. What do you
What
do?
do you do?
Because I
Yeah.
do have.
Sing songs.
We have a couple of friends that we know that the husbands have had prostate cancer, and they talked about how they couldn't
Challenges.
right, and
Yeah.
how that non-sexual and bringing in the intimacy piece, how that made their marriage even stronger.
I love it.
Right.
To talk about it. The first thing is to talk about it. Action, that's nice. But you might be doing an action that the spouse who's sick and who can't perform, because there's women who can't perform sometime too. But, it's best to talk about it versus like saying, ooh, let me do this. I think that would be nice for my spouse.
Right.
So best to talk about it and then make it a safe space. Like, babe, I'm not going to judge you. It's okay. Let's talk about it.
Right. I think it's important too, because I've talked to a lot of couples where, we want to make sure that the foundation of the relationship is solid. And so sometimes sexual intimacy can many times compensate for unmet needs that are possessed by the husband or the wife, sometimes both. I've worked with couples where like they at it like 3 times a day, every day, and that's not a problem if that's what they're driving things in. But sometimes what we find is that this has been a compensation. And so like, how would you survive if someone's sick? Because that means, for some people, they can't imagine it. And this is sometimes when with some couples, infidelity and things like that have come up because, as far as the basis of the relationship, it has been an overcompensation with sexual matters. So it's really important to make sure that you understand where your relationship is and that thing has been talked out. And there's a great understanding.
Yeah.
Some of the comments from the survey from couples in their empty nester latter years gave some comments that during prolonged times of medical procedures, it was hard, but made sexual moments shared even more special when they could happen. And then some said that the situation was hard, but the end results, I think we both felt more understood. And then some even said that during certain points of pregnancy when I was sick with cancer, I was too weak for sex. We held each other, cuddled, etc.
I love that.
Yeah, and another one says it made our physical intimacy even better. And so these are just some of the things that some of the empty nesters or people with sicknesses mentioned from the survey. Wow. Their spouses were more attentive and made them feel loved even more. And their focus wasn't just on sex, but it intensified the physical sex when they were able to start back having sex.
I feel like in order to get to that point, you have to work hard to try to have a good foundation before you get to that stage.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, even if you're in the middle stage now and you didn't have that great of a foundation in the beginning, like it's not too late to start building those moments of intimacy by being intentional with the date nights and talking more and just doing all those things to become closer to each other. Because I tell you, I, like the love that I feel when I'm at my weakest or I'm sick and I have my husband caring for me, like that's sometimes better than sex. You know what I'm saying? Just because you know that you're...
Men and women are different, but I'm glad I could do that.
Yes, sir.
But just the fact that your life partner is upholding the vows, sickness and in health, that I'm right here with you, right beside your side. So I just think that we have to be intentional about building that foundation now in the early years so that we can...
And I agree with you. Yes, I agree with you because, we recently wrapped up the 28-day love challenge. And I was just thinking the other day, have I been intentional with the things that I said I was going to do after the 28-day love challenge for him, to meet his needs? And we just ended that February the 28th. So I had to really say to myself, are you on your job doing the things that you need to do? But one of the things
What
that I really
was your answer?
No, I could do better. I did.
All right, I'm just
I could
asking.
do better. But
you've been intentional just because it's on your mind, you're being intentional
about that.
Yes.
Let me know.
But what I really also want to bring up, what I realized from the survey, guys, the overall picture and trend of what I saw was speaking your spouse's love language, regardless of whatever stage you are in your marriage, early, middle, empty nesters, because from the responses, people, a lot of them said words of affirmation, acts of service, definitely during the earlier years of marriage. Comments were acts of service, helping me out, balancing the chores of what we need to do, speaking your spouse's love language. And I was sharing with Malcolm and even you, that, regardless of, all the topics we've had a topic on the love languages, but even in this survey talking about sex versus intimacy and how it looks at the different stages, guys, speaking your spouse's love language, being a learner of your spouse, learning your spouse and knowing what they need when they need it,
Absolutely.
So that was a big thing. So, yeah.
And I think that just the overall survey, Nicole, what was it, like 82% that said that intimacy, like, is very, 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 very much so important.
Very important
within the marriage.
Right, within the marriage, but also, yes. And then again, just even talking about what are some non-sexual ways. Lorna says every strong marriage had to put the work in. That's right. Yeah. Put in that work had to be put in. So yes, and I see, Kimberly, what you said, nagging is valuable information when interpreted as conveying a need versus just nagging.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I agree with that.
And
facts.
So guys, so what we're saying is, again, wherever phase you are in your marriage, we have to be intentional and understand, like, what does intimacy, what does it look like for you in your marriage? So even post in the chat, what does intimacy look like? What are some things that you do with your spouse? Post it in the chat, guys, and we'll talk about that. But it's definitely...
you were, when you were going over some of that, and we were talking about it as well, we summed up that most of the things that were placed in there where there was a deficit, it dealt with the person's love language,
right?
Not being spoken.
Yeah.
That's one of the amazing things. And for some of you guys who don't know the love languages, is Gary Chapman, 5 love languages. I know I'm holding up 10 fingers, but five love languages. And that's really what it basically boiled down to, was my spouse is not speaking the language that I want to be spoken to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the nail that needs to be hit by our information hammer, and that is learn your spouse's love language.
Learn it. It's important. It's very,
and
very
then speak it. I know I could do better. I mean, definitely. I think it's a work in progress for all of us.
But that's what, and these are some things.
Well, Marsha said candlelight dinners. Okay.
Thank you, Marsha, because I was just about to read some of the things that from the survey that people posted. What are some non-sexual ways your partner has made you feel loved or appreciated? And Kimberly says, intimacy for me is all about quality time, being fully present, undivided attention, Kimberly. But people also said, like Marsha, cooking dinner, making date night plans, helping with the chores, a kind act. Someone said bringing home my favorite snack without me asking. Helping with the chores is again there, but saying good morning with a kiss and bringing coffee.
Oh, that's nice.
Hugs and conversation, just being thoughtful, being encouraging, and giving compliments. And engaging in those activities together. Someone said putting gas in the car, just listening, talking and holding hands together, affirming each other. So those are some specific things that were put in the survey, listening and understanding. And guys, and again, as I'm reading through these are all about a person's love language.
Reggie Hill said listening with the intent to understand. Spending quality time together.
Thank you, Reggie. And it is. And so again, I could go through a lot of these, but the main thing is speaking your spouse's love language.
And then Shadow.
I like
And
what
Shadow says, I've learned that when my husband and I just spend time talking for hours, it could be a deep topic or nonsense. Just the mind stimula is a key that unlocks other doors.
Yeah.
So that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And others are posting washing the dishes, having uninterrupted quality time together. So thank you for that, because those are all important, guys. So basically, you got to be a lover of your spouse.
So I want to help somebody out that this is all new for them, and it can sound a little overwhelming. Can we all agree?
Yes.
So let's talk about what the expectation is here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Now I don't have the answer, but I just want we have a whole panel here. Some very educated. But I'm just saying, because I know marriage is it's not easy, and especially especially for that, just say that newlywed, that new couple.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
just hearing all of this, and you may
Sounds
have
like a lot of work.
It sounds like a lot of work, but I think definitely don't look at it as work, because then you're gonna drop the ball, because everybody gets tired of work every now and then. Amen.
That's right. Amen. Amen.
But just want to kind of encourage somebody, you know, what is the expectations that you have of meeting your spouse's needs, or your needs being met? Like Nicole, I'll just use what you, and I actually got this from what you just said. You apparently, you had to check in with yourself to say, hey, am I doing what, you know? And I don't know that Malcolm's complaining about anything, but at least I feel like you're still being
quiet.
intentional, because you're noticing that, hey, I need to step up and do a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to encourage somebody that, hey, it doesn't, you know, it's not, you know,
it takes some work. I think it takes some work. I think that it's important too, because when you said this, it just came to my mind. When the idea about the question that you said, like, okay, what is the expectation that your spouse is needing? And when you think about that, if that kind of makes you feel a little, you know, uptight inside, then that's letting you know that, hey, there's probably some work that you need to do, some questions you need to ask yourself, just simple things. I mean, having grace with yourself, but finding out, why is it that I get intense? Why is it that I, you know, because sometimes just the thought of it makes us feel like, oh, well, now I'm inadequate. I'm not meeting their needs. And so the thought, and so if your spouse comes up to you and tells you that, then a lot of times what we do is we get defensive.
Yes, we do.
We get defensive. And it's not that this is saying that you have been a bad spouse or something like that. Right. It's just a lot of times your spouse is just, And so we have to evaluate if just the topic, the subject, whether you broach it to yourself or whether your spouse comes up to you, if it's very intense for you, try to evaluate that and see if it's something about yourself that can change. Sometimes it is our spouse that needs to change, but starting with you, like, why is this such an intense thing for me?
Yeah.
Right, because at the end of the day, to me, if we're in this till Jesus returns, right? Till he returns. So we're in this. So, you know, we've always said, you know, we want to be happy in this thing, you know, as much as possible, you know. And so we have to be intentional and know that there are going to be moments where there's an ebb and flow sexually. And again, depending on where we are in our marriage. But again, intentionality is the key of each of us in our marriage, being intentional to say, what can I do? What do I need to do? But that's, again, learning your spouse and knowing your spouse and remembering, you know, I haven't been doing this. Yeah. And seeing, you know, and you all have been posting in the chat those things that, you know, you need. Someone just posted not too long ago, undivided attention without the cell phones. Yes. You know, so
that's a big one.
Right. So if your spouse is saying that, then are you going to do it? Or are you just going to keep doing what you choose to do? So it's just being intentional about your marriage and things that, you know, you want for it. Because we know with intimacy, that is an evolving process. And there's going to be a time, like you said, we've been in the early phases of our marriage, in the middle, and soon empty nesters. And so having these conversations and knowing what we can do in advance, because you don't have to wait till you get in the situation.
Right. You
can take some wisdom. Wisdom.
Kimberly said we made no cell phone zones and made a world of difference.
Oh, okay.
And Scott's just looking.
But so, you know, I would like to add to that as well, Nicole, that and frequently check in with your spouse, because needs change. You know, and we may be trying to meet a need that was a need last year. We're in 2025.
But that's the complexity with women. Like you just said. You just said it. You admitted to it. When needs change for you guys. With men, our needs are basically the same.
It's pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah, but typically,
unless we get sick.
You know, as our needs do change, I'm vocal about my needs, you know, and what I want, you know, and my vocal, baby.
You vocal about a whole lot of I mean, you're vocal about
listen to that.
90.
But so y'all take notes, guys.
Well, and I'll share. We just recently had a situation the other day. We were driving, and And well, I mean, you don't care that I share. We were driving, and
It's too late now.
Yeah, I know, right?
I needed to do something, but I couldn't. Something I was supposed to do. Oh, I was gonna cook, and I was tired, so I ended up just getting takeout. And so we were left on the phone, and I was telling Trey, I was like, I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the capacity. And so he was like, well, what happened? And so I was telling him. As I was telling him, he was at the office working, and he noticed a chip on his computer, maybe somebody had dropped it. And so in the middle of me telling him how my day was going and how I felt, he noticed a chip on his computer, like somebody had dropped it. He was like, oh man, somebody dropped my computer. And so I'm pausing to let him go through that. So then, but he went from that to, yeah, babe, today, man, I've been doing XYZ, all work-related stuff, and I'm just sitting there like,
because he left.
He left completely.
Yeah,
so,
the Mac was kind of felt like an emergency.
But I brought it to his attention right
didn't even
then
know
and
it
there.
happened.
And at first, I will be honest. At first, he was like, I'm probably never gonna get that right because But he thought that I was saying something else. But when I told him what I was meaning, then he was like, oh man. He's like, I didn't even notice that I did that. And he was like, I'm sorry. I'll be more intentional about it. But that's a need of mine. My need is when I'm telling you how I'm feeling and how my day is going, I need your undivided attention.
I didn't even,
but this dude went all into the work week.
It was a busy day. It was a super busy day. And
Donna said, oh dear.
Yeah, it was so for me, what I tell Chantel is that if I'm at work, I got the privilege to talk at work, but when it's a day like that, and I don't really know what's going on, period.
Tuned out.
Yeah. And so
you just do it as a chip on your Mac.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother issue, right? But yeah, so that happened, and I truly didn't even know, because when she came at me about that, I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't even know that I had violated anything. Right. And so that's why I was like, this is not going to get solved, because I never even knew that this was happening.
But she was being vocal. She was being vocal about it.
So I learned just back down and just listen and try to understand the need and stuff like that. But I told her pretty much, if that happens again, I'm probably not gonna know what happened, because my mind is like, I got like ADHD.
But what I did tell him, and again, y'all, we're a team trying to work together. I said, well, because I can understand that, because some days I'm flustered and I can't. So I was like, okay, I'll try not to share my emotions in the middle of your work day. I can wait till you get home. Just ask me how I'm doing. Ask me how I'm feeling. How was my day? And then I'll unload then. So I'm willing to work with him to try to, you know what I'm saying?
And I have to work on that. It's like sometimes you just I miss stuff, man. And I did not know that it was anything that she was important that I should have been listening to. And that's just like bad. That because the problem is, sometimes I'll just speak for me as a man, I don't know about other men, is that sometimes we're like having really flagrant violations and we don't even know it.
No, we don't.
And then a lot of times we don't even know how to fix it, because like I said, I'm very childlike with some things. It's just like,
but you don't have to fix it. Just listen. Just listen to what's being said and then receive it. And that's it. That's this. It's no other comment about, okay, babe, thank you for sharing that with me. I receive it, and I'm going to work on that. That's all we want.
That's
all we want.
That's
right.
it. Then we're good.
High five, ladies.
But before we get ready to close out, guys, because it's almost time for us to close out, just remember, find new ways to connect with your spouse, because there's, beyond the physical. Look at those non-intimate ways that you can support each other, because there will be a time where sex is not an option anymore, depending on where we are in our lives. And I thank the viewer that, emailed us and shared some of those things, because that just wasn't an area where we were focusing on specifically with sex versus non-intimacy. And Donna says it happens sometimes, but if the other spouse can just gently nudge him or her back to the original issue, you can get back on track, and can become aware by it and can be fixed.
There you go. That's a good one.
Right. And so I want to share with you guys, we have a marriage conference that's coming up in April. So if our tech guy can post the flyer up for us, please. But we are having a Love in Action marriage conference, April the 26th. And our speaker is going to be Calvin Roberson. He wrote the book, Marriage Ain't for Punks. And he will be our speaker for the marriage conference. And I don't know if you watched the show Married at First Sight, but he's also on that show. And so, guys, if you are able to attend, make this a date. Be intentional, make it a date night or date weekend.
If you're in town.
If you're in town, and come and support. And then I also want to give a special shout out to Project XYZ, the local company here in Huntsville. Kimberly and Larry Cottle, they are a golden sponsor, and we really appreciate them supporting our marriage ministry, family ministries. And so, guys, again, if you're able to support, sign up and come.
Yes. And you know what? If you might be out of town or something, and you know someone in this local area, and you want to sponsor them, that would be great.
Yeah.
You know, or if you just want to sponsor somebody you don't even know, like, you know what? Hey, I would like to sponsor a young couple.
Right.
Even get that QR code and go in and send in a sponsorship. When it asks you for the person's name, put sponsorship.
That's right, sponsorship.
Yeah.
So
And that would
give back.
And that will go a long way. And we'll say, hey, this person is sponsoring you guys.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we're excited about that.
Yeah, we are excited about it, aren't we?
Yes, love in action. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And also before we close, guys, if you have a specific topic that you would like to share with us, for us to possibly have on Married and Committed and Covered, share it with us. Our email is oucfamilyministries at oucsda.org. I think I may have messed that up, but yes. Family Ministries.
Lorna said she would love to attend.
We would love
you to attend too, Lorna. Drop it in
Family
there.
Ministries at oucsda.org. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
It came
So,
to
guys, we won't be here next month because it is Alumni Weekend, but we will pick back up in May. And so we hope to see you all soon. And in the meantime, make sure, again, be intentional with your spouse with speaking their love language because, again, sex is important, but intimacy is just as important. So thank you.
Yeah, so
Bye.
we'll see you guys next time. Love you.
Bye.